Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Snooze Strategists. I think we're up to episode 26 now, something about that. I'm Alex. I've got Ashton here, and this is the show where we help you manage your night so you can master your day. So we talk about science basis for sleep improvement. For this episode, we're really going to give a bit more of a have a bit more of a discussion around some of the topics that are on our minds at the moment in this space of sleep and things that are happening in the media as well. So first of all, Ashton, how's it going?
Not too bad, Alex. How are you?
A bit tired. This is the show where I talk about how tired I am. But yeah, no, that's I think last night I went to bed late, and this is probably typical that a lot of things on my plate at the moment, and then I catch up after hours, and then I still want to play some games at the end of that, and then I go to sleep, and I've got a little boy who won't sleep on his own, and then you wake up after being stuck in a position all night. So that's how I feel now. I'm on the cusp of a headache. That's basically.
I'm sure a lot of parents can relate to you.
Yes.
It's not just
for
you,
them.
I guess. Yeah, for them.
but we plow on, and as much of a zombie that you feel like it, you just keep going. Yeah. So there's I guess the first thing I was going to share was I got a new toy.
Nice.
So the Amazon Prime sales were on, so I thought, okay, I'll get another one because I've loaned the other electronic eye mask to my brother, and he hasn't brought it back. So it's like, oh, this was $35. It looks a little bit more schmick. It's simpler though. Hang on, let's see. Yep. So what it does is it's got a heat and vibration function. It's got Bluetooth music. It's really a heated eye mask, and it's very light. It cost me $35, and I put it on last night actually, and it's amazing. It just I guess you can. It provides a little bit of heat, and I went to sleep and woke up at some stage, and I still had this stuck on my face. Like it really worked, but if you go to bed after midnight, hopefully it's not that hard to sleep, is it?
Yeah, that's right. It shouldn't be, right?
No, but yeah, that's quite good. Have you had a try of the self-heating eye masks that I gave you?
Yeah, I think I tried once the one you gave me. It's just amazing how it relaxes you. I think, especially now, we kind of overstimulate our eyes, right? Whether it's staring at the laptop or the phone. I am guilty of that. I'm basically switching screens, whatever I do the whole day. Yeah. So that really helps me to kind of relax. I think that warmth really good. It gives a really good feeling around the eyes. I think that really relaxes me. That's probably why it's kind of helpful to have a short nap or something you wearing that.
Yeah.
And that looks like that's really good to block the light as well.
That's true. Force you to rest your eyes as well during the day. Yeah. No, I was thinking that this week's been particularly heavy on the Teams meetings. Yeah. And sometimes it does get to the afternoon where I feel like I just want to close my eyes and just lie on the floor a bit. This is quite good, having that kind of heated eye mask, just to have another layer of. It's kind of like a good trigger for your body. It's like now's the time. I'm gonna lie on the floor, have a little pillow, put that on my eyes, and particularly when you've been staring nonstop at the screen all day, which is unfortunately the current status quo. Yeah.
How do you find the what's the experience like when you put the mask on? Is it like, how did you feel? I know you had a good sleep with it.
Quality of sleep, or just the sensation of wearing the mask?
The sensation of wearing it.
It's comfortable. It's comfortable. I don't know what this material is, but it's like really nice and plush. and it's not like goggles, so there's no pressure around
Yeah.
like a circle around the eyes. It's just like a
Mm.
nice constant sort of feeling across that area part of your eyes. Um, I guess it's akin to if you had one of those heat bead sort of like little cushion things, and you just lay it across your eyes. So
Yeah.
nice, warm, gentle heat. The vibration is a bit sucky. It's just it's kind of like a mobile phone on your face. Brr, brr. It's like it's that's not great. It's basically a heat mask,
Fair enough.
but an effective one. Yeah. So something that's been in the news recently, we talked about energy drinks in quite a lot of detail. We learned a lot about them, and it seems that Prime Energy is kicking up a bit of, or getting quite a bit of attention at the moment over in the US. Just looking at a Reuters article, maybe I'll pop it up on the screen. US FDA said on Wednesday was reviewing concerns raised by Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer against a popular influencer-created energy drink. So I guess the situation is that 200 milligrams is certainly mind-blowing for a child, let alone an adult. And the situation is that the styling and the marketing is really attracting or possibly designed to attract a younger audience. Here in Australia, we've got legislation so you're not actually allowed to sell to kids, although parents may buy it. And I think in Canada as well, they've got the same situation, but for some reason in the US, kids can buy it. So I think there's a bit of a concern there. I'm not sure what's going to happen next. Maybe it's just a case of FDA reviewing it as they would review other beverages, I guess.
Yeah, I think the danger is Logan Paul. They attract a younger audience. So when he produce a product that it sounds clearly for adults because the high caffeine content, there's a lot of all these minerals in it, and that's the only things we know about it. They really don't talk about artificial sweetness and stuff, but a lot of the online reviews say it's incredibly sweet. I haven't personally tried it.
No, I haven't tried it either.
So we don't really know what else is in it, and you can't expect when the majority of the people following you is younger kids. They really want to try the product because they idolize those online influencers. I think that's the danger. And 200 milligrams is incredibly high. I would struggle if I have that much caffeine in one go for sure as an adult.
Yeah.
And I think it gets interesting. Oh yeah, you have been tried. Yeah. And I was going to say in Canada, I think there's actual legislation says you can't have 180 milligrams is upper limit of caffeine per drink. So that's where Canada's trying to kind of come at it. But I'm not sure the US whether they have any regulations that way.
Not sure. But it's interesting now that my 7-year-old watches YouTube, and we try and monitor as much as possible. But you start off with whether it's Roblox or Minecraft videos, like here's a replay, here's how you pass the level, and then you end up, or they end up, just watching these streams, and then you get onto I guess kind of harmless, but they weren't targeting kids like Mr. Beast, and he'll go, oh, Mr. Beast did this and Mr. Beast did that, and it's like you can see very quickly where it's the TV of this generation, and those like us individuals on YouTube, you don't know who that audience may be, and you may not be cognizant or caring about what you're saying or what you're doing, and it's kind of like unregulated as well versus broadcast TV.
Yeah, and I think the true danger is if it's broadcast TV, we all watch the same advertisement. It's for the mass audience, right? With the internet, the ads can be tailored to you, and the recommended videos can be tailored to you. So very quickly you can get overwhelmed by some content that can really change how you think. And for
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether they have that ability to understand, oh, actually this is what happening. So you can very easily influence some people quite massively, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely in the schoolyard with peer pressure.
Yeah.
I'm glad that with both my boys very early on, I taught them about how advertising works.
Yeah. Good.
Because on the iPad, they wanted to get games that there's a lot of free game. Most of the games on Apple are free these
Yeah.
days, mobile games, and then you suddenly need to start buying a box of crystals and this and that, and it's like, oh, they monetize in different ways. Oh, it's just
Yeah.
advertising, and then
Yeah.
they watch the ad and they go, oh, can we get that game? It's like, how did you learn about that game? Oh, we saw an ad pop up. It's like, so I had to explain what is advertising, how does it work, what do we like, what don't we like. Yeah, because I think these days advertising is still so powerful, and there's so much psychology built into it.
Yeah. For kids, I can definitely see a lot of downside, but that's the problem now. Good example of this kind of situations is a vaping. It's incredibly
Oh yeah,
unregulated.
yeah,
About 5 years ago, there's a string of deaths and serious lung injuries for younger people because some of the vaping products have chemicals or high concentrate of THC and stuff like that, and really damage the skin, the lungs, to the point certain companies actually got banned from different countries.
yeah, yeah,
And that was the, I guess, first time people actually started to talk about the negative consequences. But that time, a lot of the celebrities like your Jay-Z and a lot of Hollywood
yeah,
stars were endorsing some companies. So obviously their followers go and try to do the same thing. They would, just go and buy the product, start using them. And now even in Australia, you can see a lot of young kids
yeah,
vape, and
yeah.
apparently it's very common in school setting too. I'm glad that Australia started to regulate that. I think a few weeks ago the government decided
Did
to
they?
regulate. So it's the same
Okay.
thing in this prime situation. These influences, their followers just blindly kind of follow and basically do whatever their these idols say.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, I've never actually handled the packaging for the vaping device, but I've seen them sometimes thrown away on the ground, and they're quite attractive. They're
Yeah.
quite nice looking, and it's cool because it's kind of digital, it's electronic, it's got a
Yeah.
USB plug. It's sort of like
Yeah.
it sort of fits so much with our modern digital lifestyle as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The same scenario applies. See, like we don't know what's in the vaping, like what chemicals they use, and same thing with these energy drinks. There's no guarantee that whatever in the labels actually the only things contained in these drinks. And yeah, so it's probably worth. It's good that FDA is kind of investigating this issue. Hopefully, it will be a positive outcome for the the society rather than it's favored to Logan Paul and their following.
Oh, yeah. So, but is there what's the impact of smoking anything when it comes to sleep? No connection, no
Um,
impact.
there is actually, funnily enough, if it's smoking, the nicotine is a stimulant, so it's almost like how caffeine works. It would stimulate your body, and it can disrupt your sleep. So I've seen a lot of people, oh, I need to have the last smoke before the bed, but that
Yeah,
can still fragment and disrupt your sleep at night. It's part of that addiction. You just have to have one before you go to sleep.
yeah,
Um, so nicotine can definitely have negative consequences, and the vaping, um, we actually not 100% sure what's in most of them. Some say, I think there are about 100 different chemicals in it.
yeah.
So it can be the same thing. And in the long run, the respiratory issues, we see quite a lot of COPD sort of patients who develop lung issues, get like, 30 years later, they can't really breathe properly. So that disrupts your sleep.
Oh wow, yeah,
So
yeah,
blood oxygen goes down. So there's a whole lot of stuff coming bit later in life.
Yeah.
I guess in a nutshell, there can be negative consequences. So what makes ideally don't smoke, but if you really have to, just make sure you have it quite early on, not like just before sleep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that you know the energy drinks are so normalized now, and we grew up with people smoking on airplanes, right? They
Yeah,
used to
that's
smoke on
right. Yeah,
airplanes. I remember when I was in Japan, even first time, probably 20 years ago, still maybe 15 years ago, I was in the bullet train, and I got just you can get a like open ticket, so you don't
yeah,
have a seat allocated. You just find a seat, you sit down. So I was on a maybe 2 hour trip,
yeah,
and I was in I don't know, I accidentally stumbled into a smoking cabin. Now there weren't people smoking yet; it was mostly empty. I was next to the window, and after a few stops, it was full. So there were
yeah,
there were there were people standing like down the aisle. You couldn't move, which is very rare, but it was packed. And then people started smoking, and I was trapped in there for a
yeah,
long time. And the visibility was low because there was just smoke in the air everywhere, and I'm sure there was aircon, but it wasn't doing a very good job, and I was just sitting there sucking it all in. It was like terrible.
yeah. That's right. And it's amazing, right? I've seen some old advertisements saying, "Oh, this is menthol
Mm.
cigarettes. This is good for you."
Yeah.
So that's how it used to be decades ago. And I think
Mm.
now we are in that phase of energy drinks and vaping. People
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
really know much, but we all consume them. It becomes part of it. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, there will be a bit more data info coming or
Mm.
regulation coming into control. Now, yeah, you're right. Like back in the day, you could smoke in the planes and hotel
Yeah.
rooms and whatever, but now you can't even smoke in a lot of the public places.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so hopefully that regulation will come in a lot faster than what happened to cigarettes. So
Mm.
um, it's definitely, um, yeah, someone has to intervene.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone. Some.
Someone, that's
Who's
right.
that person? Who is usually that someone that has that power?
Um, Usually, if you wait for the government to act, I think it's not going to happen anytime soon because government
Mm.
extremely slow to act on the industries, right? So community has to stand. I think there are some fantastic
Mm.
organizations, especially in Australia, like Vic Health, increasing
Yeah.
that awareness within the country. So it's up to the community if you want to get the actions fast. If you wait for the governments, I think it will be a very slow, long road.
Well, we do have a federal preventative health strategy that I'm
There you
learning
go.
a little
Yeah,
bit about now.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
halfway through it. I think part of it is definitely funding going towards the um, to both alcohol and tobacco
yeah,
awareness and education. I'm not sure if that extends to vaping as well, but it'd be
yeah,
interesting to find out.
yeah. Absolutely.
Hmm. Um, Cool. Yeah, no, tobacco industry is interesting because my wife used to work in it as her first job out of university, and so therefore I learned a lot about how how that industry worked, and in particular in Japan, where she was working how in Australia we've got regulations around, oh, you can't advertise it here. Like slow, it
Yeah,
used to be everywhere. You could advertise it on the side of a bus and
yeah,
in
yeah,
magazines and all that sort of thing. And now you can't advertise it anywhere. And so if you can't advertise it anywhere and you're in the marketing department of a company selling cigarettes, what do you do? So it's like really fascinating to see. Do you
yeah,
start doing? Can you do online advertising? And slowly the sort of shut a lot of that down.
yeah,
And then it becomes about being creative actually. But they do a lot of, well, Japanese design is world class, and so the
yeah,
designs in the packaging were incredible, like high fashion. You look at it and go,
yeah,
yeah, if I smoke this cigarette and hold this packet, like it's kind of like it's like Gucci. It's like that. This is
Yeah,
luxury. This makes me look good, you know. So it's fascinating the psychology behind it, the creativity with the marketing. I know it's a terrible product, but it's just wow,
yeah.
what being constrained can do to your creativity, right?
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So interesting. Didn't plan to talk about cigarette smoking, but we got there. Um, yeah, another topic that's of interest, like things that we've been talking about lately, like we've been a little bit quiet on the publishing side. In the background, we've been running a few workshops at work, building on kind of like what we've learned through this new strategist sort of doing this podcast. There's a lot of interesting elements that I've learned that you've shared. And it's also been quite visible for us that amongst, you know, our friends or co-workers, as we talk to them about sleep, just how there's a general understanding that, yeah, I know I need to get sleep. I know I need 8 hours, but I don't do that. And I don't
Yeah.
get that. And it seems to be most people
Hmm.
struggle with that. I struggle with it. I think you struggle with it.
Yeah.
And just how hard you have to work to actually achieve it. And I know as much as you've taught me, um, what are the right and wrong things to do, and yet still I'll do the right and wrong things. Sometimes right and it's smooth, sometimes wrong, and it's this constant up and down of getting it right and celebrating and feeling fantastic, feeling
Yeah.
healthy and strong and alert. And then sometimes, oh, like now, feeling a little bit not that sharp, and usually my eyesight is the first warning sign for me. It's like
Yeah.
even wearing glasses, I can still, my vision will be a little bit blurry if I haven't had enough sleep. But yeah, is there any interesting observations you've had in sort of sharing some of these insights in these workshops?
Yeah, I think 100% agree with you. It's such an easy, well, theoretically, it's such an easy thing to do, right? But in reality, it's incredibly hard to apply. So we keep seeing that. So that's, I think, key indicator that we probably have. When we think of the future episodes or the products we are going to bring in, we'll probably we should apply that.
Mm,
I think in our setting, how can we make it easier for these people to fall asleep or have good sleep?
mm,
The other thing I noticed, the kind of polar opposite of that, we had few people say, no, actually nothing wrong with it, I can have good sleep. um,
mm.
so there were few that come in like, oh no, I can fall asleep, I have a good sleep. But at the same time they're like, oh, I can't work without my cup of coffee. So I was like, so that
That's
does say
right.
something. Yeah. So it's that perception,
Mm,
because we
yeah,
all sleep every day. For us, it's another thing we do. It's like breathing.
yeah,
How often you be like, oh, actually my breathing's a bit different or difficult, and so it's part of your life. So it's very hard for you to figure out the quality, because you've been doing that for a longer period of time, and if something
yeah,
happens, usually it's a gradual decline of your quality, so you wouldn't necessarily notice if
yeah,
it's
yeah,
something, if you sleep disorder or something else, unless you just last night you had 2 hours of sleep. Obviously you will be tired today. But that's something, that self-awareness piece is really important if you need
mm,
to work on that and how to get your life better. um, so that's something I think we have to accept. Some people have the perception is that, yes, sleep's nothing, I sleep. But that's
mm,
something we are trying to break into as well, saying like, sleep
yeah,
is an investment that will make your day better if you have a good night's sleep. um, and I guess it's eye-opening in a way how people perceive sleep different. We spoke to a few people and in
mm,
our workshops, and how they are different.
yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's a good point that you raise around how we unconsciously supplement um, a lack of that optimum alertness.
Yeah.
And yes, coffee, particularly, in our workplaces, coffee becomes the crutch that
Correct. Yeah.
people depend on. It's like, what if you didn't? It's interesting to think of, we're joking about like a vegan approach to sleep and being purely natural. And what if you didn't take any coffee? What if you didn't take anything, but you were energized simply from sleep? That's, say you're living in a cabin in the woods, and that's all you had. You all you've got to power you for the next day, apart from your nutrients, what you're eating, is just a great sleep. And maybe
Yep.
there's something there about, like, when you have a holiday and your body naturally catches up and you may oversleep, but you break the cycles that you've got today playing games or stressing over work or this or that, and you're suddenly free from the shackles that you've got in your daily life. And it's great, and you feel wonderful. You come back from a holiday, maybe it was just simply having that good quality sleep that made a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so a lot of the participants we had in our workshop, they're quite driven people. I think that's and the other barrier for them to have a good quality sleep. And you and I guilty of this as well.
Mm,
Some emails, right? If we keep working through the night, do we have to
yeah.
finish that work that day, like at that time? Can we push that to the next day? What's the consequences of that? And the deadlines are, do they actually can is it actually that rigid? Can we move them? That's something
Mm,
we can kind of encourage people to think. So one of the
yeah.
reasons people stay up till the night is to finish work, or no, not necessarily finish work, but they work till night. Then they don't have a lot of time, so they work up, stay awake to watch a movie or do whatever to wind down. So it really pushed the
Yeah.
timeline, right?
You're, you're talking about me now, aren't you?
No, did you get the hint? No, I'm kidding. No, like
Yeah,
I'm
I emailed you at midnight the other night. Yes.
no, I think so. What I do, I think I probably work till a bit late. Then I
Mm,
do my usual task. I don't cut down, so I watch something or play a bit of games, do
yeah.
something else, and that really push my bedtime till late. But if I have the discipline to say, oh, actually, so to manage that time piece, that's one of the hard things, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and I'm totally guilty because I was doing this all this week. But I think it just reminds me that, we were talking both, in the podcast and offline, a lot about getting a knuckle on your job
Yeah,
as the starting point, because that's the thing that you'll compromise for,
yeah, that's
because it's
true.
important. That's your livelihood, and you want to, that's your, that represents you. It's your ego. It's everything, right?
Mm,
So if you can get that right, and for me, if I had my, because now I'm sloppy because I've got too much on my plate,
yeah,
very simply because I didn't plan all the details out in the beginning. Now I'm paying the consequence, and as things balloon out. But that goes back to plan it all, great planning
yeah,
in your workload, and being clear about those boundaries and setting them, and also asking people around you, this is my new way of working, is my new boundaries. You know, I'm not gonna respond to emails after hours or this or that. But and we've talked about this before. I think it is right that you need to go back to that as a basis and get that
mm,
right. If that's not right, it'll spill over and your
yeah,
nights are gone, right? So
yeah,
it really reiterates. Well, I'm reiterating the need that you probably need to reinvest in that, and it's probably a constant thing. You need to go back and go back and go back
yeah.
as sloppy things sort of like creep in. So planning your workload and your workplace is probably critical.
And yeah, you're right. Like both, I guess, work and hobby or personal life. But if you
Mm,
can prioritize, um, if the bedtime is 11 p.m., just regardless of what you do, you just stop and try to have good night's sleep so you can actually start again tomorrow. I'm definitely guilty of that too. If I would just actually, one more episode wouldn't harm, and then season later I'm like 1 a.m. still trying to fall asleep. So that's it's just that prioritizing sleep over others.
Yeah. Well, what's going to be interesting that we haven't tried this yet. I guess this is part of the experiment we're looking to do in the near future, is that accountability group or accountability partnership, and really, being accountable for a commitment amongst your family or friends or co-workers, and seeing if that creates the right environment, the right pressure, the right consideration to stick to your guns and follow your own rules. All right. I think that's it, Ashen. That's a really good kind of discussion covering these different elements. And this just reminds me of a real podcast sort of style format compared to the usual ones where we've got a very specific topic and it's a bit more on the education side. But getting some good viewership now. So thanks everyone for watching, and not getting a lot of questions coming out, but keep watching and like and subscribe and share with others. We'll keep evolving this as well. We've covered a lot of ground with the science of sleep. I think we're shifting gears more towards how can we help you actually apply it. And as you've heard so much in this episode, it's a struggle. It's really hard. So it's like, how do we support each other, or what are the habits to instill, and how do we continually keep top of mind? So any parting words for us, Ashen?
As we said earlier, try to think sleep as an investment and get the return the next day if you have a good quality sleep tonight.
Well said. Thanks a lot. Okay, see you later, everyone.